haven't been doing a lot of get ready with me's because I usually do my makeup before work. I did not today. I got up, I got ready, and I left for work early, so I came home with no makeup on. But something happened today that I want to talk about, so I figured, you know what? We're gonna do a little get ready with me. And we're going to talk about this thing that happened today. As I have been thinking the whole way home about what I'd want to say. And that I do want to say some things. So there's been a debate for a long time about what has the largest effect on who we become as people. Whether it's nature or whether it's nurture. I think most people would say it's some part of both. And by nature they mean your genes, your ancestors, the qualities that are part of who you are the day you are born. And nurture is the things that happen to you. The people that raise you, the people you are around as a child and as a young adult and as an older adult, because we're always growing and changing, and if we're not, then we're dead. I was very blessed. I come from large families on both sides. But today I'm mainly talking about my mother's family. But I was very lucky that the people who are part of my nature and my nurture were great people. For instance, my Uncle Bill flew in, I don't know if he actually flew or if he was part of the crew, but he flew in World War II over the Axis in Europe, and he was part of that movie. He didn't talk about it much, so I don't know a whole lot about what he did. I know it was very traumatic for him. And he told me more about it than he had told most people, because when I was in junior high, I had to do a paper on a family member who had been involved in some great event or something. I don't remember the exact assignment. I just remember that my mom suggested we had to talk to somebody who was involved with World War II. And I said, hey, I know Uncle Bill was. Can I talk to Uncle Bill? And Mom said he probably won't talk about it, because he doesn't. Like, not to his kids, not to his wife, not to anyone. He just doesn't talk about his experience. But when I went to him and I said, hey, I have this project to do, can I do it on you? He said, yes, I may not answer all of your questions, but I will answer enough that you can do the paper. And so he talked to me more about it, and my paper actually had stuff in it that my mom had never heard and some of his kids had never heard. So it was a really cool experience, and I learned from him that my family is courageous, and we do things no matter that are right and just, no matter the cost to ourselves. And that is something that I try to keep as part of who I am, that I serve others and try to pursue justice, whatever the cost to myself. And I learned that, and nature or nurture, learned that from my Uncle Bill. And then there's, you know, my aunt, my mom's youngest sister, who to me is a lady full of grace and elegance and fine taste. And I thought she was the coolest person on earth when I was a kid. Her and one of my cousins, I want to be a combination of those two. They were amazing. And then there's, you know, my mom's other sister, who is just full of joy all the time, and I love that, and I want to be full of joy. And of course there's my parents, who, my mom was one of the strongest women I think I've ever met, more so than I even knew during her life. I found out a lot more after she died what an incredible person she was. And my dad, who was my role model, who to me was the champion of all causes of justice. He taught me my passion for not just learning, but figuring out how people learn, how people got where they are, having empathy and respect for all people no matter what. and just trying to see every human being as having value. Those are things that I hope are integral parts of who I am. And you can say they're both nature and nurture. You know, those are characteristics that were in the people who have the same genes as me, and they're characteristics that they taught me as well. Well, today, my family lost one of those people who I believe had a huge effect nature-wise on me. And I know she knows how big an effect she had on me because over the last few years of her life, we exchanged letters because she lived in Oregon and I lived in Arkansas. But she's one of the few people who understood how much my parents' death affected me and how much being away from my family and being so alone during COVID and everything else affected me. And she understood that I wanted to be more than the losses I had endured. Some people are defined by the losses that they are affected by, and other people choose to be defined by the life that they live in spite of them. And she was one of those people who experienced great loss way earlier than she should have. My grandma and my grandpa, okay, my grandma had like 11 or 12 brothers and sisters, and my grandpa had like 12 or 13 brothers and sisters, and their two families, the Taylors and the Martins, intermarried. So a lot of my grandpa's brothers and sisters married my grandma's brothers and sisters, making their kids double cousins, and we were all super, super close growing up. I was the second generation, so we weren't quite as close as my mom's generation, but there were certain, cousins that we were closer to than others. And my mom's cousin she was closest to, well, there were two she was really close to. One is my Aunt Judy, who actually introduced my parents, and one is I say aunt when they're cousins because they're my mom's age, but one is my cousin Judy, who introduced my parents, and one is my cousin Kathy, who was basically my mom's best friend. And Kathy's mom is my great Aunt Kay, and my mom's Aunt Kay. And I think I remember her husband. I'm not entirely sure. I remember when I was about 4 years old. I was very, very young. I think I was 4. I remember a man at Christmas who carried an oxygen tank and wore oxygen. And I believe that was my uncle, my Aunt Kay's husband, but I'm not entirely sure. I could be dead wrong. It could be one of my many other uncles. But I know he died either before I was born, if that wasn't him, or when I was very, very young. She was probably in her 50s, maybe 60s when he died. I think 50s though. So she was very, very young to be a widow. And she was of the generation where you were devoted to your husband. They were married in the 40s. She was of that generation where your husband was your life. And that's awesome. That's great for those that, lived that and loved that and enjoyed that. It's not the generation we're in now. But she truly was devoted to her husband, and he was the one and only man that she was going to love. So she moved in with her daughter, who got divorced when I was very young, and helped her daughter, my cousin Kathy, raise her 2 boys, my cousins Tim and Mike. Tim is a year older than me, and Mike is several years older than me. I don't know exactly how many, but I think it's in the double digits. But Mike and I were pretty close for a long time because we're the oddballs in the family. We're the weirdos. And we got along really well because of that. But my Aunt Kay, she moved in with her daughter. She helped raise her daughter's boys. But that wasn't the end, you know, that's not the end of the story. And that's not why I'm talking about her today. And that's not why I always used to say, and I think my mom used to say too, she's the woman I want to be when I grow up. Like, I've realized I'm 43. I'm as grown as I'm getting. But as I age, she's the person I want to emulate. I want to be like. I think she's amazing. And that's because she lived life. She did not let anything slow her down or stop her. My Aunt Kay and Cousin Kathy would often invite foreign exchange students to stay with them. They hosted foreign exchange students for years. Even after their children, my cousins had graduated high school, Aunt Kay and Cousin Kathy still would invite foreign exchange students to live with them. And part of that was because they were fascinated by other cultures. And they loved helping students get to experience the American culture. And one of the things that they did, they got very close to these kids. Like, it wasn't just, oh yeah, come stay with us and we're never gonna hear from you again. That was not my cousin and my aunt. Not in the slightest. They wanted to go visit the families of these kids who became part of their families. And they did. They traveled to Germany. They traveled all over all over Europe. They traveled all over the United States. They wanted to see everything. And so they did. And even as my aunt got older and moving around became more difficult, she kept going places and she kept experiencing life. And like, I remember when I got married the first time, my grandma was like, oh, I can't go, I can't drive out there from California. And my Aunt Kay's like, then fly. She's like, I couldn't fly alone. And so my Aunt Kay said, okay, we'll come pick you up. And she did. She basically came and picked up my grandma and took her to my wedding, which I was totally fine with. I was so glad that Aunt Kay and Cousin Kathy could come out. But yeah, she just was like, yeah, you can do it. We're gonna do it. Let's just go. I was like, okay. She didn't take no for an answer. And I will say, my grandma loved that trip. She might have been scared to death to get on the airplane, but that trip was such an adventure for her. And it was like, because I think they went a few other places after. I know Kay and Kathy did. I think Grandma went with them. I don't entirely remember because I was just married and I was wrapped up in my own thing. And I was realizing, trying to deal with the fact that I had just married a man I did not love, and what the hell do I do with all this? The answer is, you divorce his ass. And actually the answer is, you don't marry a man you don't love in the first place. But I'd already made that mistake. So she traveled all over the world, all over the country. And she believed in enjoying life. And she even called out my mom once. I wanted to go see the Oregon Shakespeare Festival because my Aunt Kay and Cousin Kathy lived in Oregon, not too far from where the Oregon Shakespeare Festival is. And so my thought was, grab a girlfriend and drive my butt up there. We lived in Southern California. It's a good 10-hour drive, and I had a car and I had the money to do it, so why not? My mom did not think that was such a fabulous plan. My mom was convinced I was not mature or capable enough to handle this trip without a parent present. I would like to let you all know I was 20 at this time. I was plenty old enough to make my own decisions, and this was like the one time where my mom did not win an argument with me. about what I was or was not going to do. And a big reason for that is because my Aunt Kay stepped in and said, let her travel, let her come. Well, she'll be staying with us, she'll be perfectly fine. Mike will make sure that they're fine and take them out and let them do the tourist thing. He'll go to the festival with them. Let her go. And we ended up staying at the house, the family's house of a friend of mine that I went to college to, who lived right outside of San Francisco, so we got to explore San Francisco, and it was just like this fabulous trip. And it only happened because my Aunt Kay called out my mom and said, when you were a young woman, how many times did you drive from Southern California to Oregon to see us? What's your problem with your kid doing it? It's a little hypocritical. And Mom kind of had to bow to her superior wisdom and let me go. And that trip was amazing. It was such an amazing road trip. I love that road trip. I never got to do that particular road trip again, but I enjoyed it so much. And it was all because my Aunt Kay took a stand, and my mom could not tell her elders no, just like I cannot tell my elders no. I do as I am told. Luckily, I have less and less elders the older I get. So even my Aunt Kay was in her 90s. She passed away this morning, and I'm filming this on Wednesday, August 27th. I think it's going live on Sunday. But even into her 90s, my Aunt Kay traveled. Maybe not as far, but I swear it wasn't that long ago that she took her last trip to Europe. It had to be within the last 5 to 10 years. She just never stopped. She wanted to do something, she did it. She didn't let the loss of her planned future end her life and end her desire to live. And to me, she is a person who rightly earned the epitaph on her headstone, should she choose to have it. She lived. And she did so even when dealing with, you know, the problems of aging. She still went out and lived. When she had a cane, when she had a walker, she still went out and lived. And I'm putting on red lipstick because red lipstick is the color of women who lived. I complain a lot about my health problems. Not complain, maybe complain, but I talk a lot about my health problems and how difficult they sometimes make my life. But one of the things that I hope also comes through is that I am fighting to get parts of my quality of life back, specifically my ability to travel and go see things and do things. And Wolf and I even have a plan next time we are able to afford a cruise, which hopefully will be in the next couple of years. I'm very much anti-opioid medicine. I could take it for a lot of the conditions I have, but I kind of refuse to. But next time we're able to go on a cruise, I've talked to my doctor about this too. For the week I am on that cruise, load me up. Give me whatever you can to make me not feel pain. We were talking to a woman at an parent-teacher conference last night for our son, who had a really cool looking rollator. And if you don't know what a rollator is, it's a walker with a seat. And hers was like all sparkly and cool. And so I'm like, where did you get that? Because next time we go on a trip, I'm gonna get a rollator before we go. Because yes, it is embarrassing in my 40s to need that. And yes, there's gonna be people who assume that I only need it because of my weight, because you can't see what's wrong with me. Other than that, but I don't care. In honor of my Aunt Kay, I am going to go to the places and see the things and do the actions, and I am going to overcome all this and do things because I I loved my Aunt Kay. She was an amazing person, and I don't know what her children received from her. I'm sure it is much more than I did. But what I received from her and my nature and from her nurturing is a sense of adventure and a desire to go. So I'm not crying through this video. I will miss my Aunt Kay. I will miss her letters. I will miss her sending me clippings of recipes to try that sound ridiculous, but usually turn out good. But I will not cry for her because she lived a wonderful life. And I will miss her, but today is not a sad day. Today is a day she is freed from pain and gets to take the ultimate excursion, travel to whatever comes next. So I tried to kind of do a 1940s, 1950s look. I don't know how well I succeeded, although the dark hair definitely helps. But, so yeah, that's my Aunt Kay. And, may fair winds guide your sails. I love you guys. By the way, I'm Belle. I do Get Ready With Me's, unboxings, gaming, and occasionally wax nostalgic about my family, who you don't know, but hopefully some little pieces of them will live on in the internet's memory long after I'm gone. So, love you guys, and see you next week with something. Bye.